I currently am taking a class called Human Relations and Management at Kirkwood right now. Thus far, when I walked into the class, first I was one of the three girls in the class, and the rest were all guys. And I walked in late, so of course I had to sit in the very front, and I was the only girl in the front, and everyone else was in the back. So when I walked in, I kind of had this attitude that I was just gonna sit there and not participate because I was already irritated that I had to sit in the front. But as far as we've come now in the semester, I have definitely learned things about other people and about myself. One of the first things that I learned is the communication style. There's 4 different styles that Gerald Manning and Barry Reese thought of, and they also thought of this too. The first one is emotive style, and most people who are emotive are spontaneous, upbeat, expressive, and they enjoy being around people. The second would be director. They're more serious, strong, opinionated, and project indifference. Reflective people are orderly, seemed occupied, and express opinion in a disciplined way. The fourth would be supportive, and they listen attentively, avoid use of power, express opinion in thoughtful and deliberate manner. Now, I did a survey online with my class, and I was more in these 2 areas. I was low sociably and high in dominance, so I was more of the directive. This would be the low dominance and then high in sociability, so it just depends on what kind of person you think you are, or if you want to take the survey, I could give it to you too to figure out where you are, and it also tells you how to interact with people who are completely opposite of you or who are different than you in general. The second thing that I learned were my personal values. The definition of a value is personal beliefs and preferences that reflect your behavior. And then there's core values, which those are values that rank higher than your other values. And my 10 values are family, honesty, independency, happiness, health, food, shelter, job, friends, and physical activity. Now, these are different than the other people in my class, and they may be different than yours, but what my teacher had us do is we wrote our values on a different sheet of paper, 10 of them, and we crumbled them up. And then he gave us a scenario, so he would say, your house caught on fire, and you would throw away one of your values. He did this probably 7 or 8 times with 7 or 8 different scenarios, so you end up with 2 or 3 pieces of paper. When we got done, he said, okay, now open up the rest of the values that you have left over. So sometimes you're disappointed with the values that you had left over because you could not have your family, you could not have a job or anywhere to live, but you'd have certain values. And then he caught us telling us that we should have just told him that we weren't going to give us our values to him. And we should have just kept our values even though a disaster happened. So for me, that put in perspective that even though bad things happen, I still got to keep my values and make sure that I don't let something take that away from me. The third thing that I learned were attitudes. For me, I have a huge attitude problem. It's just, I was born that way. I don't know what happened. But from the book, the definition of an attitude is thoughts that you have accepted as true and that lead you to think, feel, act positively or negatively towards people, events. This also goes back to your core values too, because depending on what your core values are, or just your values in general, that also depends on your attitude. And with your attitude as well, I think it also depends on your past, what baggage you want to bring towards certain people, like in jobs, and how you feel about certain people in your jobs. It just depends on what situation you're in too. I also want to show you this. I thought this was really cool. It's called the ripple effect, and it's kind of like when you throw a pebble into a pond and you get like a ripple effect like this. Well, this right here is your core values. So then you have your core values, and outside of your core values, then this becomes your attitude. So your core values affect your attitude, and once your attitude becomes effective, then you get your behaviors. And then you get results. So if you kind of think of it, you have a certain value, it's gonna change your attitude about a certain way, you're gonna change differently, and then you're gonna get better results because most of the time your values are positive. Also, the attitudes are formed by socialization, peer and reference groups, media, rewards and punishment, your role models, and cultural influence. Now I know that first walking into that class, I thought I was gonna have to drop it because I had no idea what was going on. But I'm really glad that I stayed in it and that I was able to even take this out, just this out of the class in general. So I hope that you guys would like to go and take that class, or at least figure out who you are and write down your personal values and things like that.